Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob ENT podcast, the best sports podcast in New Jersey. Y'all know the face, y'all know the voice. If you listening, we have none other than Chris Lindsey Hoops on this episode. And when this drops, it'll be Monday. So at least one Monday a month, you are going to get Mondays with Chris Lindsey Hoops, a part of the BME podcast episodes, at least one Monday a month. You can look forward to Mondays with Chris Lindsey. My brother, how you doing?
I'm solid, man. I'm solid. What's going on, bro? Ready to get it started, man. I'm already in finals mode. Let's get it.
Facts for those that want to know. All right, what am I tuning in on this episode? We're gonna be talking about the finals, of course. We're gonna be talking about. We were reminiscing. My man posted a video about the time when Kobe was in the Drew League. So we're going to talk about the Drew League. We're going to talk about the 2011 lockout. For those that don't know, this is going to be a good episode because a lot of people forget that it was a lockout in 2011 and we got a lot of good basketball. And we're going to talk about some of our favorite all-time playoff performances because Tyrese is having an all-time run. So we're going to talk about that and some of the best coaches to ever coach in the NBA. Since it kind of is like a Cali love episode, since we're going to be talking about Kobe as well, I wanted to ask you, you lived on the East Coast, you live on the West Coast currently. Is In-N-Out the best burger spot regarding fast food chains?
That's all subjective, man. It's all about what you like. You know what I mean? I know we get a lot of TikTokers and people from out of town that'll pull up and think they're supposed to be getting like a gourmet type hamburger and end up calling it trash. But I will say this, us as Californians, we like it because the price point, the consistency, and how late they stay open. That's probably like one of the main things, at least for me. I can't speak for everybody, but I know that for sure is one of the reasons why I'm always pulling up. So when I did live in New York, I definitely missed it, man. I actually had a friend go to Texas. He was on his way from Texas. He went to In-N-Out. He froze it for me, put it in a Tupperware, and sent it. And he had it in his luggage, and he put it in my fridge. So that's dedication. I was probably like the only person eating In-N-Out in New York at one time for like 15 minutes while I was eating a hamburger.
That's fire. I ain't been out there yet to have it, but I always see the debates In-N-Out, McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King. You talking about the Five Guys of the world, the smash burgers. I just had to get your input on how you rank it because you was on the East Coast, so you know some of the Five Guys, the smash burgers.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's out there in Cali like that.
Smash Burger, I think there's a spot. I think so. I don't know if it's like the franchise, but we do have Five Guys. We got Shake Shack, which is phenomenal. You know, the price is a little crazy, but it's still it's worth it though. You know what I mean? You know, $96 for a hamburger is kind of out of pocket for a fast food place. You know what I mean?
Yo, it costs half a mortgage just to get into the building. It's OD those prices, but yeah, I was just had to ask. I was wondering. Of course, I'm gonna try it one of these days, but
yeah, we're gonna get you out here on the West Coast. We're gonna get you out here. You're gonna try for yourself, man. We're gonna put you on. Even some of the mom and pop places probably the best bet for you to outside of In-N-Out.
Oh yeah, of course. I got a list of places because I'll be watching Food Network a lot. So that's in Cali.
Yeah.
All right, let me write that one down. Oh, that's in Utah. In. Oh, okay. Probably won't go to Utah any other way, but if I end up in Utah, I know a good Mexican food spot to go swing by.
Bet. Oh, you locked in, bro. You good to go, bro.
Facts. But since we on the conversation of Cali In-N-Out burgers, it's summertime, so it's going to be a lot of summer basketball, summer tournaments. I know for those that don't know, definitely follow Chris Lindsey Hoops because the Drew League, as we mentioned, he'll be there covering the Drew League. So that's going to be some great content you want to get. In regards to the landscape, when we talk about summer basketball, that's when we get NBA players, overseas players coming back home, and we get some of the best basketball, and we're able to basically have basketball 24/7, 365. In regards of that conversation of great summer basketball, some of the best talent in the world, the Drew League always comes in conversation. You being out there in Cali and seeing it firsthand, what impact and what are some of your favorite moments that the Drew League has regarding summer basketball?
I think it's changed a lot over the years. You know, it was more like a local thing that been going on since like the 70s and everything with just like some of the guys from the neighborhood. You know what I mean? Then it started to grow and then grow more. Then as more guys kind of started getting to the league, they kept coming back throughout the summer. You know, you got like Baron Davis and different guys like that. And they always would give back, you know, to the city, to the community in a lot of different ways. And then the best thing that I always tell people about the Drew is when you go there, it's free, right? So it's family friendly. DJs, you make sure you get your Drew Aid. You can't forget about that. It's like the best drink known to man. So you got to make sure you get that. There's food trucks outside. It's a good environment for everybody. You know, you never know who you go see either. That's always a nice thing. But just as far as the community, you know, obviously the crime and all the other things that can really take those areas by storm. The Drew is always a ceasefire type place where everybody could come there no matter what, play some good basketball, watch some good basketball. You got to bring your A game. We've seen over the course of the years, you know, the local hoopers kind of getting that NBA guys or vice versa, you know, and they want to come and hoop at the Drew and have a great time when they're out there. So you always got to bring your best when you come to the Drew, man. So I'm glad that, you know, LA is really getting put on the map as far as like hoopers, because we got so many hoopers in the league too. So, you know, within the last 10, 15 years, so to kind of see it get that notoriety worldwide, as we're going to talk about, especially during that 2011 lockout, it was really something that did a lot for basketball.
Most definitely. I watched the doc. Obviously, I ain't been out to Cali, but I'm watching it, getting goosebumps. Like, oh, I want, I want to go play some basketball. The Drew League seems like a really good time, really good competition. I wasn't even aware. I forgot it's free as well. Which you've been on the East Coast. There's a lot of these leagues you can't get in for free. They try to make their money back and all that good stuff. But I get it's a business, but the fact that Drew, one of the biggest leagues in the summer, is letting people in for free, the rest of y'all leagues need to take notice and take some notes. Because if the Drew ain't charging, y'all should not be charging. Watching the Drew League and we see the games, and sometimes we even end up on ESPN and you see all the highlights that happen. For you, of course, NBA players go out there. We always see that, and that kind of, that kind of gets more publicized. But there's a lot of players in the Drew League that's played in it or playing in it coming up that are actually really good. And we found out some of these jokers could have made it to the league. When we think of players like that, who comes to mind for you of some of those local, maybe they didn't make it to the NBA, but they made it college or this or that caused it not to happen? Who are some of those players that comes to mind for you?
I think one of the first ones that come to mind, probably Frank Nitti, Franklin Session. I know he played at Weaver State with Dame. You know, they played together over there in Utah. You know, he's won all the MVPs, got championships. He's got it all. He's one of the best hoopers in my generation for sure. You know, that played in the Drew. I think of guys like Casper Ware, the dad, even his sons. Like, you know, a lot of these local dudes who could just go. Like, they just had game. I know I'm forgetting some, so please forgive me, but just those kind of two, just right off the top of my head, come to mind.
Hey, there's been a lot of people that played in the league, so I don't think you could go down the list of everybody. That'd be the whole episode right there. And I know Bill Simmons is one of the goats in this podcasting thing, but I don't think I ever want to do a 4-hour episode. So we ain't gonna do that today. So you mentioned some of the best basketball we got, and that 2011 lockout was in the Drew League. Looking back at that 2011 NBA lockout, what were some of your favorite moments that we got to see during that lockout? Which, for those that, y'all like your history, which I do, I'm a history buff when it comes to sports and history in general. The lockout happened in 2011. It started July 1st, 2011. It ended December 8th, 2011. So it ended in the same year. And of course, the NBA, had in mind, we got that Christmas game coming up. So we're gonna have to make some y'all gonna have to come to some to agreement because we got big money right there. So it ended in December, but that whole entire time, we got some really good basketball.
Man, yeah, no, we had some great games outside of, you know, the week where we had Kobe and then you had Braun in the same week, which is crazy. You know what I mean? Like that was probably one of the biggest moments, you know, and then I'm sure, as you saw in the doc. And if y'all haven't seen the doc, make sure y'all go check it out. It is on YouTube. If you type in Drew League documentary, it'll come on there. They produced by Baron Davis, bunch of guys, man. So yeah, he came there that week. Kobe came, and they thought they were gonna have to take him out before the game ended, and the game was getting close because they want to escort him out accordingly. And they in Washington Park, which is in the hood. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, let's just get him escorted out. No issues, no problems. But him and James were going back and forth. And, Kobe's like, no, I'm going to finish the game. I got to finish. So to me, it almost seemed like that was like Kobe back in his high school days. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's raw. It's a hot gym. You're sweating. Everybody screaming at you. And then he goes and hits the game winner. The crowd storms him. Everyone jumps up. That was like a big moment for the city. Bryant came in there. The court almost fell down. It seemed like he was in there. He was just wondering where the bump was at. Like, where could people hoop? It was a big moment for the Drew. It already was on the map, but then I think that kind of put it more on the map. And then I even think about one of the bigger matchups against the Goodman League, which is over there in DC. Guys like KD, Ty Lawson, who else they have on there? I think they had Gary Neal. I think Tyreek Evans was over there on that team, and it was against all the guys in the Drew. So you talking about like Harden, Debo, Trevor Ariza, Marcus Williams, LB or Bobby Brown, Nick Young, JaVale McGee, Derek Williams, Brandon Jennings. Like, it was crazy. And then, we had to get our get back because they played in Long Beach. Then we had to go play at another location, the big payback, and everyone was there. That was some of the bigger moments that I always appreciated from the Drew those years.
Yo, did Beasley play in that game? For
yeah,
Goodman?
Mike Beasley. Yeah, he was there. Yeah, he was there. Same with Josh Selby. People got to do their research.
Josh Selby.
Do y'all Googles on Josh Selby, man.
That's Kansas, right?
Yeah, he was.
He
nice.
went to Kansas. Yeah, Josh Selby he was part of the Mario Chalmers team, right?
Exactly. I think he may have been right after. I think he was on that squad. I forget. Don't fact check me, but
yeah,
I do remember he was on there around there sometime. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
It might have been same time or after. Another name that you mentioned though that I want to show love to. Bobby Brown. What's your
LB?
What's your ones looking like?
Bobby LB. Brown. Shout out to LB, man.
Cold player. And he not the tallest guard. So I love my under 6'1", 6'2" guard, Smurf gang out here. You feel me? I love
and he
that.
had bounce. Yeah, crazy bounce. I mean, we seen the highlights of him in China overseas. He's catching bodies. All type of stuff, man. Another person that did play for Goodman that's a low key was Baby Shaq. I believe he was on that Goodman team. If people don't know, Baby Shaq, he used to play with And1 back in the day. So he was on that squad too. So shout out to Baby Shaq.
Some of the moments that came to my mind too, outside of even the Drew League, I went back and I was like, look at some of the highlights, which is a lot was on Slam and Hoop mixtape. There's a lot of on there. Yup. Yeah. KD, that 66 points he had at the Rucker. Lord. It was an easy 66. It was,
bro. Man, what? Too easy. Them 4 threes, whatever he hit on that left wing over and over again. I'm like, all right, man, he got it. Like, they ain't no stopping that.
Cold-blooded, easy money sniper. Also with KD, I like to. KD was really just out here just trying to get some bump. He was just trying to stay active. KD found some flag football runs in OKC. We got to see KD on the football field during 2011 lockout. So
yes,
I like seeing that.
Did.
One of my favorite
I remember.
moments.
He did the Plaxico Burris celebration. You know what I mean? When he popped himself, man, that was crazy, man. That was a good one. They had him out here too. They had Brandon Jennings had a couple of flag football leagues where Darrell Wright used to be in them. Bobby Brown, everybody. They used to have like big old charity events, and everybody used to come out there and play some flag football. So that was real cool.
And another one, probably the last one that came to my mind for me was you just mentioned them because of course, KD, Brown, the bigger names, they was literally traveling all over the country. Sometimes they was playing against each other, sometimes they weren't, but they was literally all over the country getting some good bumping. fans that typically wouldn't. That was the best part about the lockout too. Fans that typically would never be able to see Kobe hit a game winner was able to see Kobe hit a game winner and was accessible. And you was able to touch him after the game winner, like it was at college, high school. Oh, upset! Everybody stormed the court, and Kobe stood in the middle of the court and just, hey, we here. But Brandon Jennings, I know he getting the news a lot for some of his takes, but during that 2011 lockout, we got to see the rawest, I think, best version of Brandon Jennings, because when he was in the league, it was mainly he had to be a facilitator. He came in during that time period where they didn't have point guards that were able to score in bunches. He had that 55-point game, but he could have did that. He could have did that more often, but that era wasn't really kind to point guards that wanted to get buckets. So to see him in the 2011 lockout, the amount of self alley oops, the in and out between the legs, between the defender's legs, step back, some of the best. Please go watch that mixtape because people get it confused again. Some of his takes, like, what? Brandon Jennings is booty. He's just a podcaster. No,
he was like that. You know, he was like that. No, he had game for sure. Yeah, he was like that. He put on for like a lot of small guards from the city. You know what I mean? Like, you know, being from Gardena, playing at Raleigh Park, and kind of being around like Compton and all those areas, he was able to just take what he did and he took it to the, you know, the East Coast over there at Oak Hill, you know, because he was killing everybody out here for, you know, a lot of that time in his class. So, you know, he went over there and, you know, he ran it up. And then obviously we know he went overseas and everything. And then he followed his journey back to the league. He was one of the first ones to really kind of do that. And one of the first signature dudes with Under Armour as well. Like, you know what I mean? Before Steph and all those guys, you know what I mean? So he really put on a lot for the city, you know what I mean? When we didn't have as much representation in the league as we do now.
People forget that. People, you got to do your research. Like some of the stuff he be saying is facts in regards of his stature and his value. When you talk about basketball in California, I'm not from out there, but everybody I talk to that's from Cali, that lived even in Cali in that era, Brandon Jennings is one of them names that come up that you got to show love and got to show respect to in regards of his impact on the culture of basketball, but specifically Cali. He ain't no love like home love, and he got love in Cali everywhere. You mentioned it, the Kobe game winner. Since he's passed on, we've heard all different types of conversations. We hear the people that have, you know, the revisionist history. We hear the people that say, you know what, he really wasn't that good. He wasn't top ranked, honestly. Oh, he wasn't the best Laker. Oh, he was selfish. He wasn't a good teammate. He shot the ball too much. Then we hear some people still say, nah, Kobe is still top 5, top this, that, and the third. It's all over the place. And a lot of these conversations we've talked about, some of these people I know, you were singing a different tune when he was alive. Now that he's gone, passed on, it's been a lot of different perspectives on it. I wanted to have an honest conversation about Kobe. For you, looking back and remembering actually seeing it, being in some of the games, being in Cali, how good was Kobe Bryant?
I mean, that's it, bro. I mean, he was the best. Like, you know what I mean? Like, simply put, to me, that I've seen with my own 4 eyes, 2 eyes, whatever you want to call it, is one of the best I've ever seen, bro, without a doubt. I always think of things like this. For him to take what he was born with, you know, being 6'6", not having a 40-inch vert, not the biggest hands, not the quickest, not the fastest, and for him to get the maximum output out of his body and his skill says a lot to me. You know, not everyone is born, you know, Wemby size or Bron size or Shaq size, where it's like, hey, I'm bigger than everybody. I could just kind of dominate, which is no slight to them because you still got to do the work. But for him to be like that in that era with those real wing defenders and those real wings back in the day, I mean, that's probably some of the best hard working I've ever seen, like basketball I've ever seen in my life, you know, and the fact that he gets close to Michael Jordan, who's the GOAT, you know what I mean? Like for him to even get to that mountaintop and you see Mike always kind of like oh yeah, he the guy. Like that's my little bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like that tells you it right there. That's from the sensei. You know, that's from the master right there. Like he's saying it straight himself. So I always think about that, but just too many memories, man. I've been watching them since the 90s. Like, you know what I mean? Like we all tried to get the afro. We all had the Adidas and stuff that looked like the Audi, you know, even though they was high price and stuff like that. You know, they was ugly, you know what I mean? But we was gonna rock them because it was cold. And between him and Shaq, they almost like divided the city. Either you really like Shaquille or you really like Kobe. And then imagine how the media was. It was like you get one reporter saying Kobe this way and the other one saying Shaq is that way. Then Phil would play around with it and then it would build up. It was always something going on with those two, man. But those runs that they went on were unmatched, which is why still they're the last professional team to ever win 3 straight. So that's enough to tell you right there how dominant they were.
I'm a Lakers fan, so I was enjoying and very happy of that three-peat, especially being they beat the Nets a couple of them times, and had to talk my stuff being in Jersey. It was a very good time going to school then, for sure. I had a lot to talk about. For you, this conversation always changes, man, because I know some people had him top 5, top 10 when he was alive. Once he passed, it was like he really top 15, top 20. For you, you don't gotta give me your all-time list, but where do you have him ranked amongst all-time greats? Where does Kobe rank for you?
For me personally, that I've seen in my own eyes, he gotta be number 1 for me personally. Or he is like right behind Michael Jordan. Like it's literally those two.
Hey, for years, that was my stance. Kobe was my guy. I personally, I would have Bron ahead of him just in regards of everything else that Bron does in regards. Like we saw, obviously, that second stint with Phil, we saw Kobe be able to share the rock more and be a better leader and things of that nature. Bron's impact on the passing aspect, when he was at his peak, of course, even on the defensive side and passing, rebounding, everything, just encompassing everything. Kobe, of course, I would take Kobe, and people have a discussion. Oh, how would you take Kobe as a better scorer? LeBron is the all-time scorer. I'm taking Kobe as my scorer, and I'm not saying Bron is less than anything like that. I think AI said it best. He said, "Man, they killers. They killers, certified killers. They kill different ways, though. They kill in different ways." And it all depends. I think with them, it would be like, what do you want on your team? I don't think you go wrong with either. But if you want a Magic Johnson type, you're gonna go with Bron. Now, if you want that MJ type, you're gonna go with that. You're gonna go with that Kobe, Bean, Bryant. That's the one you're gonna go with, which is why I think the debate of LeBron against MJ is one of the stupidest debates, because there's not. I get it, but they're not nowhere near the same style of player, which is why the argument will never be finished. It'll continue to go on because you nitpick at things. They're not the same. MJ won games and championships how he won championships. Bron the same way. Like, that's why I think it's one of the worst debates we have, because it kind of really don't make sense. But I think the media and where we are at is just, like you said, in LA and Cali, it was divided. Shaq and Kobe. That's the country. Is MJ or Bron? And you can't say that you like both. Don't for one second. You like both. You got to pick a side. MJ or Bron, and if you like Bron, you hate MJ. No, I love MJ. I love MJ. And you'll hear later when we talk about some of our favorite playoff runs by a player. I mean, it's multiple seasons you could choose with MJ. Them playoff runs, averaging 43 in the playoffs at one point. Yeah. I love me some MJ.
Come on, man. Talk about it.
But that's where we at with NBA discourse in this era. But The finals are in full action, and you, like you said, you are in finals mode. You are ready. I'm gonna just run down some stats from what we've seen so far from the Pacers, man. Pacers have 5 comeback victories of 15 or more points this postseason, which is the most by any NBA team in the play-by-play era. Hallie has hit a game winner all 4 rounds. The Pacers game 1 did not lead for 47 minutes and 59 seconds of the game. They go 6 of 10 from 3 in the fourth quarter alone. They still had 24 turnovers to the OKC, only having 6 turnovers, and they still won the game. After game 1, has your prediction or your view on the series changed, or you kind of already had a feeling that the Pacers might do something like this at some point?
I would say my pick is going to stay the same. As I said, I had Oklahoma in 6, but it does change my view a little bit because you really can't. It's hard to recover from an emotional loss like that. So the best way to get over it is to kind of see how their leader is, which is Shea. He's very even keel. He's very calm. He's collected, and the team follows, the way he goes about stuff. So he didn't seem like, not saying like it wasn't a big deal, but he's still locked in on still trying to handle his business and move forward, which I do like. They played a phenomenal game, like you said, for 47 minutes and 59 second point 97. Like they played phenomenal, as good as you could play. You know what I mean? And then kind of like what I had mentioned earlier, if you are the Pacers, you still, you can make these comebacks, which is great. It's like that Cinderella team that just keeps knocking off everybody left and right, and they keep winning by the skin of their teeth. But then I have to ask myself, is that makings of a good team if you always have to come back? Like, what are you always doing that can cause you to be down so much? And you got to think about it. And sometimes you could think like, oh, well, we could just turn it on and come back. And then sometimes you could run out of bullets and you may not have enough. You know what I mean? So it is a slippery slope and a tricky game to play with, but it is always nice to know, like, hey, we don't give up. It's a 48-minute game. We're a 48-minute team. If we do go down 10, 15 points, even when it's 8-9 minutes left, we can still go on some type of run in order to get us there, which can increase your confidence. But then it can almost do the reverse effect by making it like, oh, if we're down 20, we can just come back. And sometimes those shots may not fall in or the ball may not bounce your way. Their transition defense was phenomenal throughout the entirety of the game, which kind of kept them in there because when they would turn over the ball, the Thunder didn't get a lot of points off of the turnovers. So that kind of equaled itself out, even though it was 24-6. So it's going to be interesting moving forward to see how both teams clean that up, how they guard Siakam. Is J-Dub going to be able to come to the party early, or is he going to show up kind of late? Because he needs to come out early. Because if you look at their substitution pattern as well, you notice that Shea plays a majority of that first quarter, almost all of it. Then he sits down a good half of the second quarter, and then J-Dub takes over. So I want to see how aggressive they're going to be moving forward, balancing that. You already know what you're getting from P. From the Pacers with Pascal, Tyrese is going to be looking to distribute. So, it's going to be interesting moving forward. I want to see what they do kind of headed into game 2 and the rest of the series.
Now, the Pacers defense, I want to throw something out there because I want to know your perspective. You think maybe they're underrated? Because I was one of the people like, yo, I don't know if the Pacers are going to go far. They don't really play defense like that. People won't be able to get what they want. They ain't going far. And here they are in the NBA Finals, which I love that interaction that was with Tyrese and Scott Van Pelt. That's what we need more of. Scott Van Pelt was like, yo, y'all was booty, essentially. So I ain't pick y'all. Tyrese was like, yeah, we was booty. I understand it. We need more of that between the media and the players. But I kind of wasn't wrong. Every series, someone has averaged at least 30 against the Pacers. Giannis averaged 33 on 20 shots. Spider, 34 on 25 shots. And Brunson had 30 on 21 shots. Now, game 1, SJ had 38 on 30 shots. J-Dub only had 17 on 6 of 19 shooting. Chet, 2 of 9 with 6 points. Lou Dort, 5 of 10 with 15 points. Is the Pacers defense actually underrated? Because it seems like, hey, SGA, Brunson, Spider, go ahead. You get your points, you get your averages. We'll make it hard on you. And with that, everybody else, all right, we just don't want to get a second person to go off like that. Is this defense actually underrated for the Pacers?
Yeah, I would say from what you just mentioned, it is going to show that it's underrated, but then they get timely stops. That's the key part. They string together the timely stops that they need and they defend at a high level. We kind of saw what Nimhard was doing to Brunson kind of toward those games. And if you notice, they pick up full court to kind of change things, get the ball, the ball handlers kind of speed guys up a little bit. So they play timely defense and they play consistent defense. Well, a little bit inconsistent defense, if they're able to get down by so much. So there's something going wrong there in their formula. But whenever they need to get the stop, they get it done. So, I mean, I can't even argue that they a bad defensive team. I mean, they just play like the rest of the league. They just get it. They just get to stop whenever they need to get to stop.
I was definitely having questions about the defense, but when you have games like game one, they shoot 47% from the field, 46 from three, while the OKC Thunder only shot 39% from the field and 36 from three. So they're doing something right on on some level. Like game one was just really one of the weirdest games. Like I don't think I've ever seen a game like that, and that goes against all like basketball knowledge and all of what the basketball gods would allow. 24 turnovers, and you still the entire game you were in it. You still win the game. You have an opportunity for Tyrese Halliburton to yet again hit a game winner. The game didn't make any sense. SGA, he gets off, and I get maybe that's why we didn't see the best out of J-Dub and Chet. Maybe they weren't out of rhythm. 38 on 30 shots. I've always said this. It's a balancing act, and you let me know your thoughts on this because it's a conversation throughout history. I think it's such a balancing act, the conversation of efficiency when it comes to top scorers, because in a situation, for example, like AI, yeah, he took a bunch of shots, but who else was going to take the shots on that team? You wanted Aaron McKee to have 20, 25 shots? You want Mutombo to have? What's your thoughts on that conversation when it talks about the efficiency? Because we even have it with Donovan Mitchell. I just read he averaged 34, but it was on 25 shots. What's your view on that number one guy, your scorer, and the conversation of can you get your buckets in a more efficient way?
Yeah, I kind of got a few thoughts on that. The person who perfected that the most was Kevin Durant. Obviously, he's very unguardable, but even his time, even in OKC, he was still efficient. Because then I feel like the efficient scorers know how to pick their spots, and then the high IQ kicks in about when to be aggressive and when to kind of scale it back. Because you're still a threat because you're on the court, right? Because the defense is going to gravitate to you. So if you look at how they play when they're in Golden State, that upped his efficiency phenomenally. You know what I mean? Like he was able to get to spots and pull up and just knock it down, where he would be like 7 for 9. And they still got 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and he could still shoot the ball 8 more times, miss 3 times, and then get to the free throw line and make all his free throws. Like that's that efficiency. So like when I look at players, obviously now I look for the efficiency, kind of like you said with Shea, for what he shot to what he did. I get he was being aggressive. He had to shoot more threes in game one, but the efficiency wasn't there. And he is a high volume shooter, score, and then he didn't get to the line as much. So sometimes that kind of slows your efficiency down because then you're tired too, right? You got to defend at a high level. You're shooting a lot over a peak athletic person just like yourself. You're banged up. You're at your last 2 teams standing. And it's not an excuse, but it is something to think and keep in mind. But I do like efficient scores. Don't just be coming out there chucking. Whatever the offensive scheme is, then you're going to play right into the defense's hands because that neutralizes everyone else. Because you get certain players that play in patterns. They have to play in a rhythm. Some guys like the ball in their hand in order to score, in order to get themselves going. It could boost their confidence. If it's swing. If they don't get the ball, I'm standing there with my hands like this, and then the other person shoots it, then now I'm out of rhythm, but I'm expected to defend, run the lane, field the lane. So it could do a lot for the team and the morale. But it all depends on the player, who's on the court with them at the time, who they're playing against, and what his role is on the team and what tier he is on the team. If he's the guy everybody just get out of his way. But if it falls into the defense's hands, then you got to make that adjustment, get everybody else involved, and use your scoring that secondary sometimes. But be efficient.
I'm a big efficiency guy, and a lot of people don't like that conversation because I've always said about Donovan Mitchell. All right, cool, he averaging 35, but it's not always the most efficient 35. And oftentimes what we see, which I think is one of the things that prevented Utah and even Cleveland now of getting over sometimes that hump, he might start off the game shooting 22 shots in the first half, and nobody else has any double-digit attempts. And then you looking at them second half, like, hey, step up. That's kind of a difficult thing to do. And it's great when he's on. Oh, 22, he's 17 to 22. He got 45 in the first half. Oh, but when it's that 3-4, and I get it, that team in Utah, his job is to score. But like you said, at some point, when do you try to adjust? And when do you say maybe scoring secondary? And this is what I love about Tyrese. Hey, this ain't my night. I'm not going to force it. Hey, I got Lou Dort, this linebacker on me. I'm not getting to it. They face guarding. But when y'all need me, I'm going to still be the one to take that shot. And the team believes in him. The team trusts in him. I think some scorers in the league now could take that same approach. Hey, some of these teams like OKC, you don't really need to take 30 shots. You got some nice help around you, some nice options. Cleveland, maybe you still need Donovan to take those amount of shots. But SGA specifically, we don't need that. Everybody talks about this run with the Pacers, and rightfully so, they mentioned Tyrese. Rightfully so, they mentioned Pascal. But a name that I'm not hearing enough of, at least on the mass media, some shows talk about it and whatnot, but Rick Carlisle, in his career, the man has had multiple stints in different places. 993 wins with 860 losses, a 536 winning percentage. Obviously, we know he was the champ in 2010, 2011, coach of the year in 2001 and 2002. He's 11th all-time in regular season wins and 10th in playoff wins. What is your thoughts on Rick Carlisle and his role and how the Pacers have turned it around? And it's really not just this season. He was conference finals last year, and since he's been there, he's kind of helped turn around the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, he deserves a lot of credit. I mean, if you look at how he goes about himself, he's very calm, he's very focused, very centered, very locked in. There's not much things you can show him that he hasn't seen. I mean, he's been coaching since 1989, whether he was an assistant for a couple of years, and you can see the trajectory that he worked his way up, and then he got his head coaching job in Indiana, and then he got one in Detroit, and then he kind of moved around from there. That, you know, when he was in Dallas was when he really took off after Avery Johnson left, and everyone was kind of shocked that Avery Johnson was out. But then after Rick Carlisle came in and he was able to establish a winner and got the pieces together, he was able to coach one of the best teams in one of the hardest finals to go against that shocked everyone, I should say. So to see the trajectory of where they're at now, he helped build this team and this organically, right, with Tyrese and all the guys. And he coaches the best that he can, never makes an excuse. He just does his absolute best, and he gets the full output out of anybody who he's coached. And you never hear a bad thing about him as a coach ever.
The fact that he was able to just pull Thomas Bryant to end off the Knicks series, like, I think the other thing too that people aren't talking about, and got to remember, when he was in Dallas, he had Luka, and I don't know if people remember, he was actually doing a lot of, all right, walk the ball up. We're going to run Tango 47. We're going to run this play. He was calling out a lot of plays. This is completely different what he's doing with the Pacers. We know it's not a lot of coaches that are actually flexible in their philosophy and their techniques and how they want to run a team. And they don't, mold their offensive scheme or their defensive scheme with the roster. they tell the players you need to fit into my scheme, which, hey, some people like Carlisle, like a Popovich. I get it. You got the track record to be like, you need to do what I'm saying, and that's how we gonna win. He came to Indiana. You got Tyrese Halliburton over there. All right, we're gonna play completely different. We gonna play. This is how we gonna run the offense. I'm gonna sit back. I'm cooling. Y'all set the plays. I'll say stuff here and there. I'll make sure that we have the plays set up. I'm one of the best at out of timeout plays. Set it up. I think Rick Carlisle, like you said, should get definitely some more love, and get some respect for, not that he don't get respect, but definitely some respect for this run that they're on the last couple of years. Huge factor, like you said, to get every ounce out of Halliburton, Pascal, Nembhard, Turner, who was a part of trade conversations the last couple of years, and he's still locked in and is performing, and they're in the NBA Finals. So for you, do you think Rick Carlisle is a top 10 NBA coach all time?
Man, that's a tough one. I would really have to like think about all the coaches, you know what I mean, and just like their runs. But he's up there. If he ain't in the top 10, then he got to be in the 15 or something like that. You know what I mean? But he's one of the best, like, to do it, like, hands down. You never hear anybody say anything bad about him. They play hard for him. Every single team that he's coached, they're known for playing hard. He develops guys. He instills confidence in guys, and he's real collaborative. And you can see that even when he, gets a little turned up a little bit and starts yelling, but it's okay though. He's still always calm. He's almost like a cool dad, right? Like, it's just like there's haywire stuff going on, stuff's happening, and then he's like, "Hey guys, let's just settle down. It's okay. I know you missed it. It's not a problem." And the craziest thing to see, sidebar, he had a full head of hair. And now he ski ball. I don't know how that happened. I think he had the good hair going, man. But shout out to Rick Carlisle, man. He one of the best for sure.
Hey, he might have wanted to feel the breeze when the Pacers are going up and down the court. You could feel it on the head more.
Blew his toupee off, man.
Hey, let's do a all-time NBA coaches draft. We're going to draft 3 coaches. You will get the first overall pick. Who is your first overall pick for all-time NBA coaches?
You got to roll with PJ, Phil Jackson. He's the guy, the Zen master.
Phil Jackson. All right, Phil Jackson's off the board. My pick, I'm gonna go classic. You know what? I'll say that one. We're gonna go Pop. That was those battles with Phil and Pop. Okay. I'm gonna go Pop for my pick.
All right. Let's go. Number 2 for me, I'm going to go Riles. I'm going to go Pat Riley. You know what I mean? The Godfather. He was doing it big in LA. He had the suits on. Then he went to New York and had the suits on. Yeah, Miami had the hair just kept getting slicker and slicker, man. You see him up there. You don't even see it courtside near the team. He'd be in the middle looking at everybody mad. Him and Alonzo, man. It don't get no better than that.
Pat Riley is a great one right there. I am going to go with those. So I'm gonna say that's your part of your top 3, top 5 all time. Those guys right there. I will go with Eric Spoelstra. Give me Spo. Give me Spo. One more pick for you.
LeBron. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm gonna go with Steve Kerr. I'm gonna go Steve Kerr. Yes, sir.
Steve Kerr. Question, complete sidebar. Are you of the belief or agree with I'm sure you've heard of it, the conversation of Steve Kerr isn't really a top tier coach. He just lucked into having Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, the work Mark Jackson put in, and then you end up with KD, and they almost lost the Olympics because Steve Kerr doesn't know how to coach. He can't develop young players. He messed up James Wiseman. Do you think that's just basketball fans, as we said last time he was on, basketball fans just not knowing basketball and having these discussions?
Yeah, I think it's that. I mean, each coach is going to have its flaws. what coach doesn't win with the best players? I don't know. You could look around and show me a coach that's never won with all-time players. So I don't even know what that even means. You know what I mean? So it's hard to develop young guys if you're so used to that. I mean, Phil Jackson struggled with it. He didn't have the best developmental skills, you know what I mean, for players, but no one ever kind of puts that against him. But I mean, even a guy like Larry Brown or, like you said, Coach Pop, a lot of these guys, they've had Hall of Fame players in their careers that they've coached, and in the years that they didn't have top level talent, they weren't that good. That's just how it is in any sport. You need great talent, but you still have to lead the guys, be a leader of men, and really make them have a belief system to know that they can win and that they can do it, because some players like to be coached. The philosophy has to coach. You got to have your assistants in line. It's a lot that goes along with it. So no, I don't believe that. Like you need you need great players to be a great coach. Period.
My last pick, you mentioned this name, and I'm not picking him, but Larry Brown is definitely one of those coaches that he's in that conversation for top 10 coaches. But I'm gonna go with the Godfather, the one that was doing it for a minute, the most titles. I don't know. I could be doing something because I recently saw Celtic City, the doc. But I'm gonna have to go on my last pick. That man, Red Auerbach. 11 titles. You was doing something right, Red. You was doing something right. It hurts
Something was
my
working.
heart. It hurts my heart how many times y'all messed around, beat Jerry West and whatnot, and the Celtics being a Lakers fan. But I'm talking about best coaches all time, and we drafted them. I gotta get Red a part of that conversation for me. That's just me. And I know y'all like, it was a bunch of plumbers playing during that time period. Hey, he made sure his plumbers was doing the job for 11 titles.
On God, for real though. You still gotta play, bro. It still gotta do it. Don't matter.
For you, sticking with that playoff talk, some of your favorite individual playoff runs for you.
Man, a lot of them come to mind. I'm gonna go back to 2001. I'm gonna think of Kobe. His 2001 playoffs was phenomenal. I think of Steph in 2022. What he was able to do, he was hurt kind of earlier on in those playoffs, came off the bench in the Denver series, and he still was able to kind of turn it up. LeBron in 2013, that was something I ain't ever seen before. I could pick so many other LeBron ones. That was just one I just said LeBron and then a year, like, you know what I mean? And then there's a playoff thing that went right with it. And then Dirk in 2011, I know we was talking about him earlier. I mean, to beat, the teams he went against just to get there, the Blazers, the Lakers, the Thunder, and the Heat, like that's like Isaiah Thomas in 89. Like he was just able to get the job done against top level talent. And then I'm gonna say KD in 2017. I think that Warriors team was incredible. The way he was able to play in there. I mean, he missed the whole second round, then came back, and then they were still able to dominate like nothing happened. And again, as we were talking about, he was efficient. So that was one thing I always appreciated. So yeah, those will be the five that come off the top of my head.
So I'm gonna just throw in a couple of names because those are great picks right there. And like you said, when you talk about LeBron, pick a season. Pick a season and you let me know. You didn't actually say that as one of your players, but Isaiah Thomas, I think he is so underrated in regards we don't really understand your best player being under 6'1", 6'2", winning a title. He's the only one that's really been able to do it. And it was him and Joe Dumars in the backcourt. They ain't had the biggest backcourt. Maybe that's what Portland was trying to recreate with Dame and CJ. They ain't had that success that they had. But we ain't seen that happen. Isaiah Thomas, Zeke. I think people got to give some more love and respect. Go do your history. Go check out YouTube is free. Google, you can go to Basketball Reference. They are a really good site for this type of stuff. And go check out the run that he had. Crazy.
Again, to follow up with that, he beat Bird, Michael, and Magic on his way to a title. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is crazy. Bird, that's some of the elite of the elite. And they went back to back. So that's why it's like And they swept the Lakers when they got there. So it's like, it ain't nothing. Come on, y'all need to put some respect on their name. And then they were in the finals the year before in 88 and went 7 games. So they could have won that had Isaiah not busted his ankle. So they low-key could have won 3 straight, like if you really think about it. And they ran into, I mean, they was taking out Mike before he, turned up the following year, but they went on a crazy run. A lot of people don't think about them because they don't like them. Like, you know what I mean? And what they represented in the league at the time or whatever the case was. But you need to go watch the Bad Boys 30 for 30. Go check that out. Do y'all research. Like you said, do your Googles. YouTube is free, man. Go check out the Bad Boy Pistons. Some bad dudes, bro.
That game, to be able to have that game where he had the ankle injury and came back and literally please go watch that game. The man is hobbling out there on one leg and was still getting to it at 6 feet. Zeke, we love you, bro. Zeke was really like that. One of the actual runs that I had written down, staying in that conversation. Like you said, the Bad Boys of Pistons, they was giving MJ some trouble beginning of his career. 1991, though, I like that playoff run. They beat the Knicks. They beat Philly 4-1, and then they end up sweeping the Bad Boys before they end up going to that finals. I think they played the Lakers that year. That series is where I think a lot of people also forget. George just was a bucket. He averaged 11 and a half assists in that finals. 11 and a half.
I'm telling you that when they come to the LeBron stuff about being a passer, look at that. Like Michael Jordan was passing the ball too. Like don't fall for the pump fake of him just only scoring because that's the highlight you see. You can go back to 91 Game 5. What was the shot that sealed it? It was the pass from MJ. You go to 93, pass from MJ. Go to 97. That's what I'm saying, bro. Only 98 low-key might have been the only time he really hit the shot to kind of finish it. You know what I mean? But don't fall for that. But 11 assists is OD.
11 and a half assists in the finals is a different level. And if you really just want to talk about scoring, though, what that man was on coming into the league, though, you could really choose he didn't win every playoffs, obviously, but just the stats that he was putting up. The year in 91 where he averaged 31, at that point in his career, that was the lowest points per game he averaged in the playoffs. 31, you get 31 out of anybody, like, hey, that's a great playoffs. That was his lowest at that point in 91. I only think that was maybe 6 or 7 years in his career, and that's the lowest for you was 31. God,
bro, I'm telling you, they was calling him the greatest in 4 years since he was playing. They was like, no, yeah, we ain't seen nothing like this before. Come on, man, that's what I'm saying.
That playoff against Bird and the Celtics, they won the series, but they was like, oh, that's it. That's a bad man coming on the. He coming. He no Diddy. He on the way. I'll leave it at that. He on the way.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
That's what he.
And then he missed the season because he broke his foot. So had he not broke his foot, then you don't know what he was going to do in 85, 86 or whatever that season was. Obviously, we weren't really alive back then, but Google is free. We're going to check it out. We're going to do our Googles too on Mike in the early 80s, man.
Facts. Another run. People don't mention this guy's name enough. They forget about this guy. And I think a lot of bigs need to go see this guy this summer. Hakeem Olajuwon. That run he had in 94. I know I'm going in the archives and some of y'all, I was 1 year old, but still I went and did the research. I watched the series. He was like that, Hakeem, that run once Mike retired. Hakeem said, oh, it's my time now. Oh, it's my time. He playing baseball. He golfing. This is my time. I'm going to just run down some of that stats. 28.9 points, 11 boards, 4 assists, 4 blocks, 1.7 steals on 51.9% shooting. And I believe, if I remember correctly, in that finals run, 4 out of the 5 games, the man had at least 5 blocks.
Come on, man.
respectfully, Pat did his thing, but Hakeem made Pat look like we're not gonna go into that's another episode. But Hakeem, the Dream, really, really good. Especially when you talk about all-time bigs. You can't forget that man off the list. Him, Timmy, Shaq. Yeah, Hakeem was like that. And of course, we got to talk about the man, none other. We remember the commercials. You fall 7, you get up, which is scripturally, but they took it for the commercial. D Wade, that run in 06, where he had everybody from the AARP a part of the team. Jason Williams, Shaq, Gary Payton. They all was getting into the movies for free. That was a older team. He he was the leader of that team. That was his coming out party. Everybody was able to see, oh, D Wade is like that. And the 4 games that they didn't win in that finals, obviously they had to win 4, but in those 4 that they won, the man averaged 39.3 points, and he was playing about 46 minutes a game.
And they came back from 0-2. That don't happen in year 3. That don't happen. He was only in his 3rd year in the league. The year before that, he was in the conference finals, game 7 against the defending champs, if I'm not mistaken, the Pistons. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and the Pistons have been in the conference finals, I think, almost 2 or 3 years straight prior to that. So the fact that he was able to come in there, I mean, he hadn't missed the playoffs at that point in his career either. His first playoff, he hit a game winner on Baron Davis. He had Lamar Odom, Caron Butler, had a big trade, got Shaq, conference finals. Then they get to the finals, beat the same team that beat them, and it was levels to that. They were saying he was better than Kobe at the time, which I was like, all right, hold on. But I mean, you could see it. We had eyes back then. He was a bad dude, bro.
Bad dude. And the thing that people may not have known, if you just looking up, Googling it, you just happen to look on YouTube and whatnot, he couldn't shoot. He ain't had no perimeter jump shot. That was all midi, some midi, but that was all. I'm getting to the paint. I'm getting to the free throw line. I'm the Flash. I'm just too fast for y'all. Y'all like how SGA weaved through traffic and weaved through pick and roll.
Bro, it was like a precursor to that. Like, if you don't like the way SGA played, you wasn't gonna like the foul baiting that D Wade had, because D Wade would jump into people a lot. You know what I mean? When that was allowed, but he was so fast, he was so strong. He had a full grown man like build. Like, he didn't. Obviously, he was older and he was a dad and married by the time he got drafted. So that dad weight, married weight put more on him. You know what I mean? So he already was stronger than all the other 18-year-olds that were in the league. He was a grown man. You know what I'm saying? And again, he developed that, like Kobe said, the way he would navigate screens and just pop up out of nowhere, change the direction during Euros, jumping over people, dunking on guys. And he was blocking. He was a great help defender. One of the, all-time in blocks for a guard or something like that. Like, he was a great weak side help defender. He would guard his yard. He was a bad dude. Unfortunately, all those wear and tear during those years kind of messed his knees up. You know what I mean? But he still had a little bit left in the tank. But even 09 Wade, you know what I mean? Just that season when he led the league in scoring after he came from Beijing, I'm like, bro, do you see what this man is doing in Converse and wearing some Converse? You know what I'm saying? But like they said, he was one of my favorite for sure.
For him to be also that global with Converse, I just had this discussion with a couple of my boys. I'm not of the mindset of the finals suck because we don't have the biggest stars and this, that, and the third. But for those that have the conversation in regards of is FGA and Tyrese are known globally, I think their sneaker companies aren't in that regard. I can see where people have that discussion like, well, I don't know if people are going to tune in globally because D Wade was known globally on a smaller sneaker brand with Converse. We know a lot of the times the top companies where you get to have those players grow is the China tours. I don't know if maybe it hasn't happened yet. I know Halle just released that he has a sneaker coming out. That was what he wore in game 1. So can't really talk Halle yet, but SGA, has he had like a China tour with his
Not that I
sneaker?
know. Yeah, not that I know of just yet. This is his first signature shoe as well. So, after he left wearing Nikes, then he signed with Converse, which is under the Nike umbrella. So you can still wear Jordans and stuff like that off the court. But for him, you see, he wears his shoe as a lifestyle shoe as well with all his outfits. And he's a very fashionable guy, which is, up to people's subjectivity, what they determine as fashion. Same with Tyrese, right? And I believe Puma is under the umbrella of Adidas, if I'm not mistaken. And he was a Nike guy as well. So I don't think SGA has had that China tour just yet, but this year probably will be the best year for it, win or lose. You know what I mean? I know he played in the Olympics last year, so that was a thing. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But that's how you grow your global brand. And then obviously with social media, you don't have to go too far sometimes because you already have enough of that. So it'll be interesting to see as soon as the finals is over, take some time off, and before the season starts, we'll probably see him over there.
Yeah, I think that's the last part, I guess you could say, for them off the court is globally being known. I don't know if they're globally known on the scale that we're used to seeing of our stars, like a Kobe, a LeBron, a Harden, even because he has that connect over in China. Even Marbury when he went over there, that he's a god over in China now. Like, you get love in China, it just does something completely different for your career off the court, because then now jersey sales go up.
Yeah, I would say Kyrie Irving. Like, look at him. He was able to left Nike, went to Anta. Now he's through the roof. Even more so.
Exactly. So I think that's where some of the people, are at, like, oh, it's going to be boring because it's not the global scale how we're used to seeing. But game one should let you know that's not going to be the case for this series. In the ratings conversation, we don't work for the NBA. A lot of us don't work for the NBA. So what does the ratings actually matter to us? Like, to us, what does it matter? I get again the conversation of probably people being fans of, like, oh man, we coming to the end of LeBron, Steph, KD. But I don't think it's just like the NBA is gonna completely fall off and we don't got no, at least, good basketball. They might not be as personable as a LeBron, as a KD, going back and forth with people on Twitter and having those conversations, or a Steph and the family man. We basically saw him grow up with Aisha and the kids. You can't expect and ask every player to approach their career and off the court the same as what we saw in the past. And a lot of them, like Bron was saying with the Ant-Man conversation, a lot of them are like, I kind of want to keep it a little bit private. I kind of want to, because y'all be tripping. So actually, I'm going to give you this much, and the rest I'll save for my family and friends. Y'all don't get to see that. Y'all don't have that access to me, which a lot of people don't understand. I could love you. I could love my job. I could love the sport. I could love the NBA, but that does not mean that you get to have access to me. You don't get that access. And I think that's this wave of players. You ain't going to get that access. Looking at, this is off-season talk, honestly, but we mentioned it with Zeke. Jalen Brunson is obviously the number one option. Do you feel, with Jalen Brunson being the number one option and also a defensive liability as well, do you think the Knicks can win a title with Brunson as your number one?
Yeah, it'll be extremely tough, I think. He'll just need the correct running mate and obviously the coach. They were close, obviously, this season, but I think if he has the proper team around him and they kind of get maybe let's say a bigger wing, a bigger scoring wing that's efficient, and he can kind of give the ball to, so it's not just isolation, him dribble, then try to go score, fade, pivot over guys, almost not twice his size, but like that are a little bit bigger than him, it becomes tiring. To whereas on defense, you don't have enough gas or energy to give because you have to shoot the ball and bail the team out. So if they're able to make a maneuver somehow and able to get another top tier wing scorer, or maybe even a big who can take on a lot of that scoring, to where then he can kind of fall into the back seat, start distributing a bit more, and then he can use his scoring as the ultimate thing moving forward. So I feel like they're just about a piece away, but it needs to be a piece that actually makes sense for them to possibly win a championship moving forward.
I think they're gonna have a busy offseason because that's a question to answer, because even with Cat did his job offensively. We knew when you got Cat, he wasn't known as a defensive stopper or a defensive anchor. So the Knicks, even to be that close, they're in a very tough situation because your top two players aren't really known for playing defense. Cat is out of his control a little bit. He's slow-footed. Jalen Brunson, you saw throughout all, even the Pacers series, we're going to attack you specifically, and any of our players could just shoot over you because you're 6 feet, 6'1". So I'm glad I ain't Leon Rose, because you're going to have to figure something out, because you can't have your two best players be in that starting lineup, your two worst defenders, because teams, we going to see it. They'll have a good regular season, but when the playoffs come, we see it's very matchup driven. We've seen it for years. So when you look at an OKC, we ain't have to hide nobody. We ain't had to hide nobody. The Pacers, everybody's capable of playing D, and we play defense on the string. It's kind of hard with the Knicks and that roster, because we're going to pick on Brunson. We can just shoot over him. And then if we get Cat, getting this screen action, my boy. Getting this screen action. We going to see if you can move them feet. Yeah. He was confused. Do I drop? Do I play drop coverage? Do I come up? Hey, I'm glad I ain't Leon Rose. I'll just leave it at that. They got some questions to answer. And I think we talk about all the time, it takes a little bit of luck to go further in the playoffs. If the Pistons were healthy, if Beef Stew was healthy,
just saying,
I don't know if we see them against the Pacers, because that Beef Stew, that one game, Cat wasn't big bodega. It was a bodega closing down. They ain't pay their rent. It was different with Beef Stew out there, man. So
for sure,
I think they got some questions to answer this all season, like big time. But we will see. It's another week, 2 weeks left of the finals, and then we get to see what the Knicks are going to do, and a bunch of other teams. My Lakers, what are they going to do? What moves are they going to make? It's going to be a fun off season. You're going to make sure that you're tuned in here. You're going to smash that like button, share, subscribe, and you can guarantee at least one Monday a month, you will be getting Mondays with Chris Lindsey, and we will make sure you are filled in with everything, because here at the Bench Mob ENT podcast, we stay ready, so you ain't got to get ready. Bench Mob, we out. Peace.